Well, I was shocked. I really didn't think it was going to happen.
Oh, okay.
They were talking for over a week, and I thought maybe he was going to go to USC or something.
No, I did not know that. So, with all the talk, since he has, well, didn't even decommit from Georgia, but with all the talk in the last week and from all the sources that I have, and I'm not saying that I have any in-depth sources by any stretch. I'm talking about many of the same sources that everyone else has. Yeah, I did not know that anyone else was in play. So I was anticipating this happening at any time. We've got our Nebraska guy, of course, Justin Adams. He's doing a live hit on the Nebraska channel right now, and he's been telling me for days, I'll jump on this as soon as it's official and as soon as he makes his commitment, but it's going to come here at any point. So, bam.
Okay, so you said earlier this season, and I took great offense to this, that we were a dumpster fire. Now, with bringing Dylan on.
Okay, I don't recall that exact terminology.
Okay, well, maybe I misheard you. Nonetheless, how do you
I
think
don't say that about anyone. So,
how do you think?
I haven't really been saying that about Northwestern or Rutgers or anyone, let alone Nebraska. But anyway, go ahead.
How do you think this changes it? How do you think this changes everything? I mean, we haven't had this type of recruit ever, what I remember.
Well, yeah, the one thing that I do remember saying is during this entire process, whether it was before he committed to Ohio State or during the process in which he was expected to decommit from Ohio State and maybe make that, there was that USC, Georgia, Nebraska triangle going once things soured with Ohio State that this kind of commitment, wow, absolutely, this is enormous, because then he recruits players. He recruits players plus other players, even if they don't have a relationship with him, see that, well, there must be something going on there. There must be a reason that a player of that caliber is going to sign with Nebraska.
Aren't you think it's also interesting that his uncle got a pay raise this last week, too?
Well, sure. Yes, absolutely.
And the other thing, who was the kid from Ohio State that ended up at Syracuse? He was in Lincoln.
Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord, poor fellow. Someone's had a joke that he was in Lincoln when he heard that Dylan was going to come to Lincoln, and he got off the elevator and Casey Thompson was standing him trying to get on because Casey's back in Lincoln. And he says, "I've had enough. I'm out of here." So I'm kind of interested to see what Casey's going to do, because if he comes on, that'd be a great backup or starter. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Dylan.
Casey Thompson coming back to Nebraska.
Yeah, didn't you hear he's rehabbing?
No.
He had torn ACL, and wherever he was, somewhere in Florida.
Yeah, Florida Atlantic.
He's in Lincoln rehabbing.
Okay, I just find that kind of curious, because my reaction to Jeff Sims transferring immediately was, well, this is just competition for Casey Thompson. I never thought Jeff Sims was as good as Casey Thompson. Never thought he was a serious competitor to the job. But I know that Zach Smith, he used to coach at Ohio State, and I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he comes on here from time to time and told us, and this is well ahead of the Jeff Sims transfer and signing, but when it was rumored that Jeff Sims will be the starting quarterback in Nebraska, and I thought, my goodness, he's not as good as Casey Thompson. But sure enough, Casey Thompson turns around and transfers. Didn't even slug it out for the competition in the spring. But that's under Matt Rule. So for Casey Thompson to come back to Nebraska, I don't know. That just doesn't seem to follow a logical course of the way people deal with each other. Usually, if you've been discarded from a place, that you would be back the next year.
Maybe it's just NIL. Maybe they offered him.
Sure.
Maybe they offered him a backup because look at, we lost three quarterbacks this year. We went 3 of them. Sims got hurt supposedly. Then Harburg got hurt. Then Purdy was hurt.
Yeah.
So I think probably at Lincoln. They're looking, hey, as many quarterbacks as we can get. Because I think Raiola will start next year. I think he'll be a starter.
Do you think he'll start day one?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I would think that if Casey Thompson is there, that yeah, I don't know if he's the best player and he's ready to do it. And of course, he's an early enrollee. Then he's going to have extra time to go through the whole process. So
we'll know April 27th. That's when the spring game is. That's usually a strong indicator who the quarterback will be.
Yeah. Wow. If he's able to win that job, that says a lot for the lack of competition. It also says a lot about him. And he's supposed to be that good. But yeah.
And the question next is, people are asking me, my friends down here, Chubba Purdy, does he stick around?
Yeah.
Does he go?
Well, I think it all depends on what these individual players think of themselves. With this transfer portal being what it is, I've seen recently where, there's been a handful of quarterbacks across the country that at one point were kind of a big deal, but realized a little bit later in their careers that that's not where their career is eventually going to be headed, and want to set themselves up for a coach's job eventually. Tristan Gebbia, former Husker, did that a few different places, but most recently Ohio State.
Yeah, I wasn't aware he was at Ohio State. Did he do anything there?
Well, no, that was the point, is that there's no way he would ever play at Ohio State, that he went there to be groomed as a coach, to try to learn, not
I see.
Play. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. But yeah, that's some great information you're bringing us, Casey Thompson. They could have used him this past year.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, they could have. Well, listen, it's always a pleasure talking to you. You have a great. Oh, Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas to you, Alan. And man, I give you a lot of credit for being as kind and nice as you have been, considering that I may have alluded to Nebraska being a dumpster fire. I just don't picture myself making that comment.
Probably not far from the truth, though, honestly. I mean, we're not Ohio State. I know that's your team. Let me ask you one question about Ohio State.
Sure.
I've heard a lot of stuff about Day and trouble, and the fans are pretty angry. Is his job in jeopardy?
Well, of course, he's made it through this season, so I don't believe his job's in jeopardy going in, at any point before they're going to step on the field next season. But if they lose to Michigan again, regardless of what his overall record is, see, that's a tough call, because if the 4-team playoff was still a 4-team playoff, and that was not going to be changed in college football, then there's just it completely changes a level of what you need to do to accomplish your goals eventually. It's more of an NFL model and style to, they can accomplish their goal of winning a national championship and not beat Michigan. But
right, that's next year, right?
Want
20?
Yeah, that's exactly. So that's next year. But we've never seen a coach in college football who's winning close to 90% of his games get fired.
Frank Solich was at Nebraska.
He wasn't 56-7.
Well, maybe not, but he was winning 10 games a year.
Yeah, that's his teams were finishing roughly in the top 15 in the country. They weren't arguably the best team in the country.
No, but
that's a pretty good jump. We've never seen anything.
Well, okay,
we've
so
never
how about
seen a coach who's been coaching one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the country get fired? That's just never happened in college football, unless somebody in the chat can enlighten me to a situation more than 70 years ago. But I would pretty much have the last 70 covered in my brain, to that degree. But I guess anything's possible. If he loses this game 4 years in a row, yeah, it means that much to that school and those fans